Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Night Live with me, Jonny Lipsham, at jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk over in the Midlothian area of Scotland. Hope everyone's doing well. So this is going to be obviously a much earlier show than we would normally do because it's Super Bowl Sunday and also it's Valentine's weekend as well. So I'm kind of not anticipating that there's going to be a whole lot of people here. But if you're here, I'm very, very glad that you are. So let's go see who is actually here. And Billy Morgan was the first in the house. He usually is these days, first in the house, followed by Ken Moss and Rich Cresswell, who I've been talking to practically all day, which has been really nice. We've had a great talk. It's been fantastic. And Carl Drajusiak is here, who I was talking to as well for some of the time, and Paul Morgan, and that would be it. Hey Paul, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. So I'm anticipating this will be a slightly shorter than usual show, and that's fine. Normal service will be resumed next week because there will be no clashes. I don't think there's anything any other major event that would clash with it. So no Super Bowl Sunday and no Valentine's or anything like that, as far as I know. So that's what we'll do next week. We'll be back to normal. But this week, I thought for those that did want to just come in for half an hour, I would make the show available so that they can ask their questions. So if you've got questions about Studio One, if you've got questions about mixing, mastering, music production, songwriting, arranging, composing, then get those questions in the chat just now, and we'll make, what out of it we can. But yeah, just to say that the music that you heard at the very beginning of the show is a brand new piece of music that I wrote just about 3 or 4 days ago, in the style kind of a news theme. For like a news show, like, I don't know, the news at 10 or something like that, or Sky Sports News or something like that. And I was asked to do it for a particular project, so I thought I'd give it a shot. I've never really written anything in that style before. So I did a wee bit of listening to some different theme tunes from news shows around the world. Particularly the United States and the UK and Australia, places like that. I watched a few news programs to kind of get a feel for what tends to be most popular, what kind of sounds are most used, and a lot of them feature orchestral, kind of, certainly in the 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and actually even sometimes earlier, maybe like the 1950s and 1960s. News themes tended to feature orchestral kind of music. I think John Williams wrote the nightly news, I think for CBS, I think it was, back in the day in the 50s, I think. And yeah, it's a fantastic theme tune. And so I took a little bit of inspiration out of what he had done for that particular news show. And that's got all of the classic John Williams devices, like, major sevenths voiced with the seventh at the bottom of the chord, so you get that nice close voiced kind of sound, So you have that very much going on in the brass, the French horns and things like that, which is a very classic signature little sound of John Williams. So that crops up in that news theme. And there's a few others. No news is good news, says Rich. Yeah, that would be right. And wouldn't it be interesting, actually, if like the 6 o'clock news started up, and there was literally no news. Nothing has happened. Nothing has happened today. Everything was normal today. Everybody just went about their normal business, and that's the news. Wouldn't that be good? I think that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, I don't think the world is ever like that. There are some weird news themes out there. There's one, I can't remember which, I can't remember which news program it was, but essentially they had like drastic budget cuts around the time that they were needing to create like a new news theme tune. And so basically the orchestra was stripped back to just strings. And so the composer wrote this piece called Holiday for Strings, which is mostly pizzicato. So all the violinists, they're all plucking their strings, and the cello players plucking his, and the upright bass players plucking their strings. So it was called Holiday for Strings, but it's remarkably jolly sounding. You know how kind of like the piece that I just did is kind of a little bit serious and, you know, strident, and, you know, here's the news. This is important. This is an important thing. But this was kind of like, and I was just like, imagine having that as kind of like your theme, and then the news announcer comes over and starts talking about, you know, there's been a bomb that's exploded in Baghdad, and lots of people are killed and maimed and wounded. I was just like, how gloriously inappropriate that is if you kind of take that news theme from the 1950s and then juxtapose it with modern contemporary news. So, Holiday for Strings sounds plucking good. Yes, it really does. A whole plucking string section. Absolutely. So, yeah. And then, of course, there's the BBC News. If you're in the UK, you'll know this. The evolution of the theme tune for the news, the 6 o'clock news, and of course the 10 o'clock news, which is for, I guess, for budgetary reasons, it's exactly the same piece of music. But over the years, it's gradually become more and more kind of, you know, banging club tune, and less kind of serious. This is important, you know. Here is the news, you know, this strident thing that I've always thought that news programs should have, you know, big, loud, strident, important, you know, authoritative sounds. And then the 6 o'clock news here in the UK has this kind of banging house tune for its news theme. And I have no idea whose idea that was or where that came from, but it's weird to say the least. I think the one that still has it is the ITN News, which is still very much properly orchestral with its big punchy chords. But yeah, so I wanted to play that for you to kind of see what you think of it, really, as much as anything else. Tony has a question. He says, how did I get Studio One to back a bit before start recording? There are a couple of ways you can do that. Hang on, let me go back over to Studio One. Let's do that. Okay, so we're over in Studio One, and there are several ways in which you can do it. The best way is to have a look at what is available in the wrench options here. But let's say I want to start recording. If I was to like add a track here. Here we go. Let's say I wanted to start recording here. I wanted to do like some kind of voiceover announcement. So maybe from about here. So what you want to do is you want to set up the metronome here. So you've got a pre-count. And then you can choose however many bars you want. You could have just 1 or you could have 4. I think 4 is the maximum. Yeah, 4 is the maximum. So if you set that to like 2 bars, which is where I normally have it. But when you want to start here, if I now press record, it should back up. Oh, it's not doing that. It's not doing that. Why is it not doing that? I'm missing a step. I'm missing a step because it should normally do that. And I can't remember how to do it. Maybe it's in Studio One options. General audio. I don't recall where it is. I don't recall where it is, unfortunately. Oh, I know where it is. It's not anywhere near to do with that. It's over here. It's this guy here, pre-roll. Which I never ever use, but and now see that it was now recording, but it didn't give me any click because I had the click turned off. But I can do that. I can put that on. Oh, it doesn't. That's interesting. Pre-roll. Can I not have pre-count on? No, you can't have pre-roll and pre-count on at the same time. Okay. Of course, that would make sense. So. And now, in the news today, a sheep got stabbed with a teaspoon in the middle of the road, or whatever it's going to be. But yeah, you need to set up pre-roll if you want to back up a little bit before you want record to actually engage, which is this button here. And it only just occurred to me. And as you can see, the toggle switch for that is the letter O on your computer keyboard. All right. And does anyone really want to hear what I just said? And now, in the news today, a sheep got stabbed with a teaspoon in the middle of the road. And now, in the news today, a sheep got stabbed with a teaspoon. There you go. All right. So that's how you do that. And then we just want to get rid of that because we don't want it. All right, so I hope that helps. Alps Media has touched down. He's made it back west, which is awesome. But I'm glad you're here. Glad you are here indeed, my friend. So yeah, so that's how you do that. It's pre-roll. And I had a short memory gap there for a moment, but we closed the gap. Did you notice that how we did that? We actually closed the gap. Here in the US, we just have forks in the road. What, you mean actual forks? You know, somebody actually put forks in the road? There you go. Terrible joke. And Rich is feeling sad for the sheep that got stabbed in the middle of the road. Yeah, well, when the Indian takeaway has run out of lamboonas, you got to do what you got to do. All right, so any other questions? Otherwise, this is going to be an absurdly short show. I'm kind of okay with a short show, but do we really need a very, very short one? Ken deleted his message. Dwayne says, so people here want to watch the game, so I'll catch the show replay later. That's no problem. No problem at all. No problem at all. I mean, I'm actually going to finish in like 10 minutes or so because I want to watch the game as well. I just need to go over here. And I'm going to refresh that. Why is it telling me that will be... Why is that not available? Ah, there we go. Got a TV license? Yes, I do.
Getting closer to kickoff, which means we are set for the start.
Okay, right. So I have I have the BBC running the Super Bowl show in the background on mute. So there we go. Mark is here. He says, I have one. Cool. All right, let her rip. Let's have the question. I'm very happy to have your questions. And Kyle says 4 candles / 4 candles. Yes, absolutely. JG covered the band tool, which I missed. Can we discover that in 5 to 10 minutes? The band tool? I wasn't aware that there was a tool in Studio One that is actually banned. Is that real? Oh, the bend tool. I thought you said band tool. The bend tool. All right, let me go over to Studio One. The bend tool. How does the bend tool work? The bend tool is pretty cool. I have used this. Let me go grab a new song actually. Bend tool is really useful for a whole bunch of different things. So let's go to loops. Let's close that. Let's go find something drum orientated. And let's go for something like this and see what we've got in here. Yeah, let's go and grab this. I have no idea. Oh, why is it not dropping in? There we go. All right, so we've got a nice little kick drum in here. All right, so we've got a nice little kick drum loop here. But let's say we don't like the sound of this kick. Let me turn it up a wee bit. Not that it really matters, but let's say I mean, I actually happen to think that that's a really nicely recorded kick drum. But let's say, for example, we wanted to replace this with a different kick drum. So let's say we wanted to replace it with, I don't know. Let me find a drum kit. Maybe we wanted to replace it with the Tom Brecklin drums and use one of his kick drums. All right, let's say we prefer this kick drum. And that's fine. But let's say we really like this particular pattern and it works really, really well. We just like this rhythm, but we just don't like the sound of it. So what we can do is we can hit that. I think I even did, let's see. So I need to have this guy open here, the audio bend. I don't think I actually did this with the bend tool. But the bend tool is great if you need to use it to quantize something. And I can show that in just a minute. But this is pretty cool use of the audio bend functionality. So I'm just going to have everything set at default here. And I'm just going to hit apply. And now we've got these bend markers. And I'm just going to drag this straight down onto here. And then I'm going to hit this first note here. And I'm going to do Control A. And I'm going to drag this up. And now, if I was to mute that first kick there. So I've now replaced the kick drum. And this is a really easy way to do kick drum replacement or any drum replacement for that matter. But I think what, if I just undo all of that, what was being discussed here was the bend tool and how does this work. Okay, so let's enlarge this a little bit. So the bend tool is pretty cool because you can stick this in, you can stick in some bend markers. If I can get Annie to actually apply, it would help. Why are these not applying? I don't know why these bend markers are not going in. Why are they not going in? Ah, there you go. See, I can drag this either more in time or more out of time, depending upon what I think it is. And it will move according to the grid, as you can see. So let's say everything was just like maybe a 16th out. And we don't want it to be a 16th out. We want it to be in time. Hang on, come on. I've got a dodgy mouse, which is not helping. There we go. So now I've been able to move everything so that it snaps directly to the grid. So each of the transients is right on the line now. So this is a really fast way to kind of make something a little bit more in time. If you really like the feel of a particular thing, like, for example, a bass part. If you've got a bass player that plays really nicely and you like his feel, you like his tone and all of that, and you like the track that he put down, but there's just like a couple of missed timings. This is where the bend tool can be really handy, because you can just kind of shift things around to pocket it. And you can put in bend markers so that it's only one particular bit that gets moved. All right. So I hope that helps. Rich, I hope that answers that question. Let me know if that answers the question. Does anyone have a tip about a method of rendering plugins using the main out? Rendering plugins using the main out. Well, anytime you render an event, like if I was to right click this track here, and if I do where's the option? I don't see the option. That's weird. Why don't I see the option for transform to rendered audio? Probably because I don't have any plugins on there. So let's go and grab, let's say, let's go grab a compressor and put that on here. And let's just kind of do some fairly crazy compression, fast attack, fast release. Actually, I've gone and put that on the wrong place. There we go. Let's get rid of that one. All right, so I've got my my compressor on here. I'm doing an absolute megaton of compression here. That's probably way too much. Whoops. And we need to make up about there. Something like that. All right. So let's say we are happy with that. And now we want to render it. So we go transform to rendered audio. And what that'll do is that will render that event with, it will render this track with that compressor onto the audio. But you're talking about using the main out. So if you were to have, say, a limiter in the post here, let's see. Let's go for transparent, and we'll just leave that like that. Okay, so transform to rendered audio, preserve real-time state, so I can always go back if I need to. And I'm just going to set that to 0. Then we'll go OK. Now the compressor's gone. Don't need that anymore. Close that as well. And have a listen to that. Could I use a channel as a pre-master which could be rendered? You could create a bus that would do kind of that, I suppose. I'm not quite sure what your use case is, what you're trying to actually achieve. If you give us a little bit more detail on what you're actually trying to achieve, that would help quite a bit. But as Rich says, you can certainly use a bus that receives all channels and all other buses. Yes, you can certainly do that, and then you can render that. I mean, the thing you can do is, if I was to go select this, if I was to select this channel, and then go add a bus for selected channel, and then imagine that this has, if I call this all, imagine that this bus here has everything in this whole mix dumped into this bus, including any other buses, right? So let's imagine that for a moment. And let's imagine for the minute that we want to, just tap it gently with a little bit of gentle compression. I'm just going to pick a compressor at random. And, for the sake of this, I'm just going to do a small adjustment. All right, and let's say we're getting a couple of dBs worth of gain reduction there. So one thing you can actually do is you can print your whole mix. So you can dump everything to a bus, and then you can go back you can dump everything into a bus, and then you can go back over to here, and then you can go add a track, and you can make it a stereo track. Okay, and then you can change your input to a bus. So I can now grab that all bus thing there, and then I can just set that to record. And then I can record that bus. We have to do it in real time. All right, so now I have printed effectively everything that was going to this bus. So, but you can, as you could see when I was setting up the channel, if I go back over here, I can change this to the main inputs. If I want to. Or I can set it to a bus, or I can set it to an instrument, or I can set it to any track. But usually what you would want to do is you would want your you'd want to print your main output, and you can do that to this kind of a track. I'm trying to render VSTs to the main out so I can send the file to a collaborator. Oh, you're trying to render the VSTs? You don't even need to do that. I've still got the pen tool on. You don't even need to do what you're talking about doing. If it's just VSTs, if I go back to my news theme song, close that. If I, for example, if I decide that I just want to send this trumpet to somebody, this is in two parts, so let's select the second one and let's press G to merge it into one. And then let's say I want to send this to somebody. What you can do is you can go and you can mix down the selection like that. And there's my mixed down VST. And then if you're sending via Dropbox or something, you just drag and drop it into the Dropbox folder if you've got that set up on your Files tab. Or if you're a PersonaSphere person, it takes a second to get in, and you're collaborating in a workspace, for example, let's say this one here, then I can just go and drag and drop that over here. And as I'm holding down the mouse button here, without letting go, if I press the shift button, do you see that X goes along? So you have WAV file, which is just the raw track without any inserts. And then this one, WAV file with rendered insert effects. So if you've got effects on that particular VST, or you can do an audio loop. I'm just going to do WAV. And there, it's done. It's as simple as that. Okay? Boom, thanks. There you go. So you don't even need to do any fancy kind of jiggery pokery to try and render something out. It's that easy. Marco says, can I pass through analog using pipeline without recording, just rendering? A tech exists for this possibility. Unfortunately, if you're using hardware, external outboard hardware, you have to render in real time. You cannot do an offline bounce because the gear exists outside of the DAW. It exists outside of the computer. So you cannot do an offline bounce. You have to render in real time. There's no choice. And you'll find that that is the case in any DAW, whether it's Studio One, Cubase, Pro Tools, Ableton Live, any of the other DAWs that exist on the planet. If you're using external hardware, you have to pass the audio in real time out of the computer into that hardware and back into your DAW. That's the only way you can print that effect to your track. And that has to be done in real time because the hardware unit works in real time. It does not work in any other way because the external hardware unit is not a plugin. So that's why there is no way to do it outside of a real-time rendering, which is what is automatic in Studio One. So if you're using pipeline in Studio One, the only option you have for rendering is real time. You don't have the offline bounce as an option because the gear is real, has to be treated as real. Okay, so I hope that that helps. And with that, folks, we are out of time because I said this was going to be a short show because it's Super Bowl Sunday. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to kind of end it there. And for those of you that want to know what the score is just now, we've just got underway and there is no score. So the game has just got underway. All right, folks, I will see you. Rich says, you have to ask the logical question. Can you render not in real time if you were to take the DAW out of the equation? That's a good question. Don't know. But, you know, when you're using a DAW, then, yeah, it's... it is what it is. And with that, it's game on. So I will see you folks on Wednesday over on Jonny Guide's channel for Songwriting Simplified on Home Studio Trainer at 6 p.m. Central Time, usual time. And I will see you guys then. Good night, everybody.